Have you ever wondered why, despite your best efforts, saving money seems almost impossible? No matter how much you earn, money always finds a way to disappear. Now, imagine there was a proven method used by millions of people in Japan for over 100 years that achieves something incredible. It teaches you how to save more without feeling like you're sacrificing your life. This method is called Kakeibo, and it's not a fad or a modern app. It's a system so simple that anyone can apply it, yet so powerful that it completely transforms the way you see and use your money. In this video, you'll discover how this Japanese trick for saving more works, how you can apply it starting today, and why many consider it the key to a freer and more peaceful financial life. Before I begin, I want you to leave me your honest answer in the comments. Have you ever felt like money is slipping through your fingers without you realizing it? Writing it down will be your first step to looking at your relationship with money from a different perspective. Get ready, because what you're about to learn here can be a turning point in your way of saving. The art of living with less but better. Kakeibo is based on a simple but transformative idea: financial minimalism. In many Western cultures, we've been taught to measure our worth based on what we buy, the size of our house, the car we drive, or the brand of clothes we wear. But this equation is broken, because if personal worth depended on accumulation, there would never be enough. Someone would always have more, and we would always feel empty. In Japan, true wealth is measured differently. It lies in the ability to enjoy the essentials: a clean tatami mat, a bowl of steaming rice, a quiet afternoon with your loved ones. Therein lies the essence of financial minimalism, not in giving up everything, but in recognizing that the most important thing is already in front of you. The OECD published that more than 40% of households in developed countries spend more than they earn each month. This means that almost half of families live in a constant state of deficit, relying on credit, loans, or credit cards to cover the basics. The result? A spiral of financial stress that never stops. The root of this problem isn't just a lack of money. It's a lack of clarity. Many people buy not because they need to, but because they confuse need with desire. They buy to fill emotional voids, to feel part of something, to obtain immediate gratification that disappears in a matter of minutes. Financial minimalism proposes a different alternative: living with less but living better. It's not about living an austere or sad life. On the contrary, it's about consciously choosing what's worth investing in. If each expense were like a seed, how many of the seeds you sow each month would blossom into something that truly nourishes you, and how many would wither away without a trace? A $3 coffee every day may seem harmless, but over a year, it's more than $1,000. Now, imagine that money invested in a savings fund that earns you 5% annually. In 10 years, those small coffees turn into more than $13,000. That's the power of awareness. The key to financial minimalism is understanding that every coin you spend is voting for the lifestyle you choose. Do you want to vote for haste, excess, and debt? Or do you want to vote for peace, freedom, and security? Adopting this habit isn't immediate, because it clashes with the consumer culture in which we grew up. But step by step, as you apply Kakeibo, you'll begin to notice that the more you choose the essential, the lighter your life becomes. And here I want to invite you to something deeper. Write this powerful phrase in the comments to remind you that your strength lies in choosing clearly. Nothing stops me, everything drives me. Let these words guide you through your process of simplifying and healing your relationship with money. The Money Diary, your financial mirror. One of the most powerful pillars of Kakeibo is also one of the simplest. Write down everything you spend. And yes, when I say everything, I mean every single transaction, from your rent or mortgage to that coffee you swore wouldn't make a difference. Why is it so important to write it down? Because the human mind is designed to forget the uncomfortable. And money, when spent on small, repetitive things, tends to hide behind excuses. Memory deceives us, but paper doesn't. Writing down your expenses is like standing in front of a financial mirror. It's looking at yourself without filters, without embellishments, without self-deception. The method proposes 3 essential columns. 1. Category. What does this expense belong to? Food, transportation, housing, leisure, health. 2. Amount. How much exactly was it? No rounding, no more or less. 3. Reflection. Was it a real need, a desire that could wait, or a simple whim? This last point is the most transformative, because here you're not just recording a number, but rather engaging in a dialogue with yourself. You ask yourself, did I really need this, or did I just want to feel good for a moment? Behavioral financial studies in Japan show that those who adopt the habit of keeping a spending diary manage to save between 20% and 30% more each month. This isn't because they earn more money, but because they become conscious of how they use it. If your income is a river, the diary is like a map. Without that map, water seeps through invisible cracks and is lost. With the map, you know exactly where each drop flows. The diary becomes a tool for emotional self-knowledge, because often we don't spend out of necessity, but rather out of anxiety, boredom, or social pressure. The simple act of writing forces you to recognize those emotions. In a study from the University of Tokyo, a group of families began recording their daily expenses for 6 months. Upon completion, more than 60% of them identified emotional patterns. Automatic purchases after a stressful day at work, excessive spending on weekends, or online shopping to compensate for loneliness. By becoming aware of this, they began to replace those habits with healthier and more sustainable ones. The money diary is not just any notebook. It's your log, your map, and your mirror. It's the place where, month after month, you leave traces of your relationship with money. And believe me, when the months go by and you look back, you won't just see numbers. You'll see your transformation reflected on every page. Brutal honesty with yourself. Kakeibo doesn't work if you're not completely honest with yourself. It may sound harsh, but the truth is that most people don't fail financially because of a lack of income, but because of a lack of sincerity. We tell ourselves phrases that soften the guilt. I deserve this. It's not that expensive. It'll only be once. But behind those words lies a repetitive pattern that, when added up month after month, ends up draining our pockets. Brutal honesty begins by reviewing your records at the end of each month. That moment is key because paper doesn't lie. Your numbers are there, reflecting what you did, not what you imagined you would do. To apply this honesty, ask yourself questions that go straight to the core. 1. How much money did you actually earn? Not what you expected to earn, not what you were promised at work, but what came into your account. 2. Where did that money go? This is where the surprises begin. You discover you spent more on transportation than you thought, or that your little cravings represent 15% of your budget. 3. Did I spend on what I needed or what I wanted? This question seems simple, but it's brutal. Often, what we call a need is actually a desire in disguise. 4. What can I eliminate next month without losing quality in my life? This last question is pure gold because it transforms review into action. It forces you to make decisions. According to data from the Federal Reserve in the United States, more than 60% of households don't have a written budget or a regular spending review. And the most shocking thing? Of that group, half end up in credit card debt with interest rates exceeding 18% per year, all because they didn't honestly face their numbers. Kakeibo changes this because it makes review a conscious habit. It's an uncomfortable process at first, yes, but that discomfort is a sign that you're touching the truth. Imagine your financial life like a house. If you never check the foundation, the cracks widen until one day the structure collapses. Honesty is that monthly inspection that prevents future disasters. And here's the most powerful thing. When you learn to be brutally honest with your money, you are also brutally honest with yourself in other areas of your life. Financial clarity becomes emotional clarity. The power of cash. We live in a digital age where almost everything is paid for with a click or a simple swipe of a card. And while the convenience is undeniable, there's also a hidden risk. Our brains perceive spending differently when we use cash than when we use digital means. Science confirms this. A study conducted by the Journal of Consumer Research revealed that paying by card reduces the feeling of payment pain, causing us to spend up to 83% more compared to those who use cash. The reason? The digital transaction is abstract. We don't see the money leave our hands. We don't feel the immediate loss. But when we hand over bills, something different happens. The physical act of counting, separating, and handing over produces a stronger emotional reaction. Our brain registers the outflow of money as something real and tangible. Kakeibo takes advantage of this psychological difference with a method as simple as it is powerful: the envelope system. The idea is to distribute your money into different categories at the beginning of the month. One envelope for food, another for transportation, another for leisure, another one for savings or emergencies. Each envelope has a clear limit. When the money in an envelope runs out, there's no credit card to replace it. No "I'll pay for it later" excuse. It's simply gone. This habit, although it may seem rudimentary, works because it forces you to view your resources as finite. And by doing so, you begin to spend more consciously. In fact, surveys conducted in Japan show that this method reduces, on average, 15% of unnecessary spending each month. That figure in the long run is enormous. Imagine a family that spends $1,000 a month. With this practice, they could save $150 a month, or $1,800 a year. Multiply that by 5 years and you have $9,000, and all thanks to a practice as simple as going back to cash. This method also has an emotional impact, because when you choose to use cash, you come to terms with the real value of money. You stop seeing it as a number on a screen and recognize it as the tangible fruit of your work, your hours invested, your effort. Kakeibo reminds us that discipline isn't found in complexity, but in consistency. And the consistency of handing over bills, of watching an envelope empty, is a silent reminder that every expense matters. The monthly review, your ritual of clarity. Kakeibo isn't just about recording expenses, but about creating a space for monthly reflection. At the end of each month, the method invites you to slow down the hectic pace of life and sit down in front of your financial journal. This moment becomes a ritual of clarity. Calmly ask yourself, what did I do well this month? Where did I fail? What patterns are repeating themselves? What will my specific goal be for next month? At first, it may feel uncomfortable, almost like reviewing your mistakes. But the goal isn't to punish yourself, but to look at your reflection without filters. Your numbers aren't enemies, they're mirrors. They reflect your decisions, your emotions, and your way of relating to abundance or lack. In fact, studies by the National Endowment for Financial Education in the US show that people who review their finances at least once a month manage to save up to 30% more than those who don't. And not because they earn more money, but because they learn to correct things in time. The monthly review also offers you something that everyday life doesn't allow: perspective. During the month, purchases seem small and harmless. That $3 coffee, that $10 subscription, that extra $20 ride. But at the end of the month, when everything adds up, you may discover that those little things represent 20% of your income. This is where Kakeibo transforms anxiety into peace. Because by writing down, reflecting, and adjusting, money stops being an invisible monster and becomes an ally with whom you learn to communicate. Imagine this ritual as a financial meditation, a moment to be grateful for what you achieved, acknowledge what went wrong, and above all, commit to a better version of yourself next month. That consistency, repeated month after month, is what builds long-term wealth. So I want you to close this lesson with an affirmation of prosperity. Write it in the comments so your mind can record it, not just as words, but as a new financial identity. I am prosperous and I attract wealth. Because prosperity begins with clarity, and clarity is built when you look at your finances with courage and self-love. The difference between surviving and thriving. Saving isn't just putting bills aside in a drawer or letting money rust in a bank account without purpose. Saving, in essence, is freeing up resources to work for you and propel you toward a future greater than your present. True saving isn't an act of deprivation, but of vision. Consider two scenarios. The person who stashes their money aimlessly solely as a protective instinct. They live in survival mode, accumulating for fear of losing. The person who saves with a clear purpose, investing in education, starting a project, building an emergency fund, preparing for a dignified retirement. That person doesn't just survive, they thrive. The difference lies in the intention. The World Bank confirms it. Those who manage to save at least 10% of their income are 40% more likely to escape poverty within 10 years. And this isn't a theoretical figure, but a real pattern observed in families in different countries. That 10% may seem small, but with consistency, it becomes the lever that transforms entire lives. Now, Kakeibo takes this idea a step further. It's not about empty savings, but about savings with purpose. Every yen, every dollar, or every peso you set aside must answer a clear question. Is this money being saved to grow or just to accumulate? When savings become a tool for growth, you stop seeing it as a sacrifice and begin to experience it as an investment in yourself. For example, that 10% can become an emergency fund that protects you from debt. It can finance a course that multiplies your income opportunities. It can be transformed into capital to start a small business that will change your life tomorrow. The key is to make savings not a prison, but a key. Kakeibo teaches you to save with intention, to give a noble purpose to every coin you save. And when you save with purpose, even small amounts take on enormous emotional weight, because they're not just numbers, they're steps toward your freedom. Small victories, big transformations. Financial progress isn't built in a single day, nor with a single decision. It's built with small steps that, repeated with discipline, become big transformations. Therefore, every month in which you manage to fulfill your financial plan, it's essential that you recognize and celebrate it. But not with debt, not with excesses, but with conscious rewards that reinforce your discipline instead of sabotaging it. A book that inspires you, a simple dinner with someone you value, a guilt-free afternoon of relaxation. These small celebrations aren't an unnecessary expense. They're a psychological investment that trains your brain to associate savings and discipline with positive emotions. Various studies in financial neuroscience show that the human brain works with a reward system similar to video games. Small, immediate gratifications that maintain motivation toward a larger goal. According to the American Psychological Association, people who celebrate microachievements are up to 46% more likely to sustain long-term habits. Money works the same way. If your only goal is a big prize in 20 years, motivation fades. But if you learn to recognize your victories every month, the process stops feeling like a sacrifice and starts feeling like a path to freedom. Imagine your progress as a ladder. Each month you fulfill your plan, you climb a step. Each conscious reward is a pause along the way, a respite that gives you the strength to keep climbing. When you look back, you'll see that those small steps have become a seemingly impossible climb. Kakeibo reminds us that saving isn't synonymous with suffering. On the contrary, it's an act of self-care. When you celebrate those victories, your mind understands that saving doesn't deprive you, it frees you. From the material to the essential. The big change occurs when you stop seeing money as an end and start seeing it as a means to experiences, to peace of mind, to security, to peace of mind. For years, consumer society has led us to believe that our value is measured by what we buy: the car, the seasonal clothes, the latest cell phone. But when we analyze it honestly, we discover that many of these purchases don't respond to needs, but rather to momentary desires that evaporate in days or even hours. A study by the London School of Economics revealed something surprising. The increase in happiness after a material purchase lasts, on average, only 48 hours. After that time, satisfaction returns to previous levels. In contrast, experiences like traveling, learning something new, or sharing moments with loved ones generate memories that strengthen the feeling of well-being even years later. Therefore, true savings aren't about accumulating coins in a jar or depriving yourself of everything. It's about learning to give them real value. Ask yourself before spending, is this bringing me closer to the life I want, or is it just filling a momentary void? Am I buying something I'll use or something that will only serve to impress others? Will this expense bring me peace or bring me more worries? Kakeibo doesn't seek to make you a slave to austerity, but rather to learn to use your money with purpose. Because when money is aligned with what's essential, it stops being a burden and becomes a tool for freedom. The financial world is often reduced to numbers and percentages. But what truly changes your life isn't how much you earn, but how you choose to use what you have. And when you make that leap from materialism to what's essential, you discover that what seemed like little is actually enough. Imagine this idea as a filter. Every coin that passes through your hands must pass through the question of whether it contributes to your well-being or is just passing noise. And when you live with that filter, even your smallest expenses become conscious investments. Because in the end, it's not about living to buy, but about buying to live. The journey to financial freedom. Kakeibo isn't simply a savings method. It's, in essence, a path of self-knowledge. By starting to record your expenses, reflecting on each financial decision, and adjusting your course month by month, you're not just changing the way you manage your money, you're transforming the way you think and feel about it. Statistics confirm this. A study by the American Psychological Association revealed that 72% of people who consistently keep financial records experience a significant reduction in money-related stress. This is no coincidence. Clarity eliminates anxiety, and discipline generates security. On this journey, money stops being an executioner chasing you with bills and debts and becomes an ally. You stop seeing it as an end in itself and recognize it for what it truly is, a powerful tool to build the life you want. Think of your life as a ship in the middle of the ocean. Kakeibo is both a map and a compass. It forces you to plot routes, correct detours, and identify storms before they hit. Thus, little by little, each note, each reflection, and each monthly adjustment become oars that bring you closer to a safe harbor, your financial freedom. Freedom doesn't come overnight. It's not a prize that suddenly appears, but the accumulated result of small daily victories. Every unnecessary expense avoided, every savings you protect, every goal you achieve are silent steps toward that independence. And the greatest transformation doesn't happen in your bank account, but in your mind. You begin to feel in control, that you are no longer a slave to consumption or haste or the need to appear. You discover that money doesn't define your worth, but simply reflects your decisions. That is the true gift of Kakeibo, teaching you that wealth is not measured by what you have, but by what you are capable of building with what you have. Write in the comments to affirm this transformation in your life. Nothing stops me. Everything drives me. You have discovered a centuries-old Japanese method that can transform your financial present. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's awareness, discipline, and clarity. If you apply it, you will save more, but above all, you will live with less weight and more freedom. And if this message resonated with you, it's because you're ready for the next step. Subscribe and join me on this journey, because the next financial secret you discover can change your life forever.